What's good, everybody? NicMakesPlays here. So I got first in my locals. I won this cool mat, and I also top forward split my last two locals back to back. So three local top four / wins in a row, and I thought I might as well make a deck profile for the deck I'm currently using. It is a Shaddoll Invoked Dogmatika deck. I've worked really hard at making this deck viable in the current meta, and I think that I took it to pretty far heights from where it started. And I just want to show you what I think is the best direction for Shaddoll Invoked Dogmatika in TCG. So let's start the deck profile. So 3 Alistair, pretty straightforward. 1 card Makaba allows you to easily get a light with just linking. You can do combos with it with Ecclesia to make this plus Ecclesia into DPE, and then you can Invocation for the Makaba, so you have Makaba DPE. It just does a lot for 1 card, which is really nice in this deck, considering that I have a lot of other cards in this deck that are standalone cards as well. They're really like a lot of hand traps and stuff, but Alistair's really good. We'll get into Alistair later. So he's pretty straightforward, Alistair the Invoke. Alright, next we'll do our hand traps just real quick because I think it's important. So I'm playing 3 Ash Blossom, 3 Ghost Ogre, and then the last one I'm playing right now, at least, is 3 Draw and Lockbird. So the reason I play 3 Draw and Lockbird is because the current deck, like the Brave 60-card pile deck that won the remote YCS, it can push through 3 hand traps like no problem. Like I've had a game where I played, I think it's actually one of the games for this mat in the finals, where game 2 I had double Infinite Impermanence and I had Ghost Ogre and he still full Artifact Scythe DP'd me. Because what they do is they make Herald of the Arclight, then I get a hand trap. They summon Griffin, gets the other hand trap. And then they make Baron, which gets other hand trap. So the only hand trap that they actually just can't play through a lot of time is Draw and Lockbird. Not all hands, but a lot of hands, like they'll start with Enchantress. You draw them, and they can't do the Fateful Adventure thing. They can't do Small World. They can't search off the Rose Dragon. Like, they can't do a lot of combos in the deck. They can't Magician Soul. So it's just, this is one of the only hand traps I felt where if I use this, they just like can't play. And other hand traps I can just push through. So I'm maining 3 Draw and Lockbird right now. Ghost Ogre is generically good against the deck as well, including the Fateful Adventure. It's good versus other random matchups like Florindese, where you can just like kill the map. So I feel like the map in Florindese is how they fight through a lot of things. Like if you just like Valor or like Imperm, whatever their guy, they can just play the map and then keep going. Also, I summon Alistair on my turn, and they can just use the map on my turn. So you really want to get rid of the map. That's how you win the matchup. And then Ash, obviously, I think this is generically just the best hand trap right now. I don't think that's really much of a question, but stops Enchantress, stops Fusion Destiny, stops like pretty much all kinds of things. So right now I'm maining, I've done different variants where I mained like Valor and like Imperms as well, but right now I'm playing the Draw and Lockbird because it's one of the only hand traps they can't actually play through. But it's also good versus like the Florindese and like other random decks, so it's good. So yeah, maining, that's my hand trap lineup right now. The next cards are the Ecclesia Engine, or I guess the Dogmatika Engine. I want to explain this one a bit because it's very, I guess, interesting the things you can do with it. So Ecclesia, half the time you don't even use the effect to search, because that shuts you off the extra deck. What you'll do is you'll like normal summon Alistair, you'll get Invocation, whatever, and then you'll make a link. You'll just link for Almirage. And then you'll special summon the Ecclesia, no effects, you're not locked out of your extra deck. And then you'll link both of those away for the Predaplant, Verde Anaconda. And then what you can do here is you just do the Invocation. This is now a light in Alistair. So you have Makaba. And then you use this for Fusion Destiny, and you get DPE. So that's really good. You just get like Makaba DPE really easily. So very great way to extend your combos into just making DPE for with the Alistair and the Ecclesia. Or you can also just use its effect and get Maximus. So I guess I'll put my extract back and then go into other things you can do with it. So it doesn't have the extract the rest of the turn, but it also searches the Maximus and the Floor, or I guess Punishment, we'll get to later. Yeah, what you can do is you can just like make Makaba and then special summon this and then search Maximus, and then you can play Maximus, and then you're able to search Shaddoll Schism because Maximus will send Titaniclad and Abcalone to the graveyard, and you'll search Shaddoll Schism, and then you'll have this in hand at the end phase, search from Titaniclad. So you always are able with Ecclesia to end with like DPE Makaba, or Alistair plus Ecclesia is either DPE Makaba or it's Winda Makaba plus this negate. So pretty straightforward. Another cool thing you can do is you can play the Predaplant in certain instances, and then you can special summon Maximus, and then use Defect, getting the DP. You can't special summon any more monsters the rest of the turn besides heroes, which aren't anymore. So you have the DP, but then after, since you already special summoned this earlier, you can use Defect, and then you can get like Schism. So you end up like with Makaba, DPE, and Schism a lot of the time. Like so you have like Winda, you have like Makaba. The end goal board usually is Makaba, Winda, DP, and you can just do this regularly with the Ecclesia Engine, or the Dogmatika Engine. It's so versatile. And last thing about Floor is Floor doesn't show you off your extra deck. So a lot of times, like, it's the same as Ecclesia, where you just summon this, you link away the Alistair for, like, All Mirage, and then you special summon this, and then you just make this gets DP. So, pretty good. I want to say Maximus also is insanely strong versus Sword Soul and PK, because they don't have cards. This card sends 2 cards from each player's extra deck to the graveyard, and this card doesn't. Or the Sword Soul and the PK don't really have effects in their extra deck or the graveyard, so you get like a free, just like +2. It's really strong. All right, moving on. Next card, we have just Celestial and Dasher. Obviously, your fusion targets for the DP. It's pretty straightforward. You just draw 2 and you make DP with these cards. You don't want to draw them, so I run 42 cards to help like not draw them as much, but yeah, that's all they're there for. Next, the only 2 Shaddolls in the deck are just one Shaddoll Beast and one Shaddoll Aerial, or at least the manic Shaddoll monsters are one Shaddoll Beast, one Shaddoll Aerial. These cards allow you to run Shaddoll Fusion and do more things to Schism. I guess you'll see the spells are where the deck is really spicy, but this just lets you draw an extra card. Lets you activate Shaddoll Fusion from your deck, because obviously you can like App Cologne, send Beast, send Aerial, banish their grave, draw a card, and then negate one of their like monsters in the field to like start off your turn, and then you're just safe. You have like extra card to work with. You deplete the resources, and then they have like one less negate monster to deal with. Aerial, the main use of Aerial, this card's insane. The main use of Aerial is to banish their DP and these guys from grave. So like a lot of the time you'll clear their DP with cards we're gonna get into. And these are in grave, and you just do, okay, Aerial, I'll banish this, and then, like, this or whatever. And it also just, like, ensures you win the game. There's so many games where you'll play versus, like, I don't know, Sword Soul, or, like, PK, or just, like, I guess the DP decks, and they'll have board control, like a good board. You break their board, and then you Aerial their graveyard, leaving them, like, with no graveyard resources, and then just have, like, 2 cards in hand. They can't beat your, like, Winda DP like Makaba. So this just like shuts down the recovery plays, because a lot of decks in the game just have like graveyard resources, and yeah, very generic. All right, so again, as I said, this is where it gets spicy. This is actually the main reason I think this deck's really good. Oh, I also should real quick explain the reason I don't play a lot of Shaddolls is that I try like every variant under the sun. I really wanted to have like a heavier Shaddoll variant with like Winda, maybe like a Hedgehog and like Squamata and stuff. But the issue is if they negate a Shaddoll fusion and you draw like one of these cards, then you just have a dead card in your hand. And imagine you have 2 Shaddolls in your hand, right? And you like want to go fuse and you're going second, and you Shaddoll fusion and they negate it, then you just have 2 dead cards, and you just can't afford to do that in Yu-Gi-Oh nowadays. Like they'll have like 3 negates, like DP, whatever, and you'll just like have 2 dead cards and you can't play. So you need to go low Shaddoll count. Alright, so let's go into the spells, because I want to explain this next spell. I think this next spell is kind of what makes the deck, or makes it so good. So 3 Super Poly. This card is absolutely insane in this meta. Alright, so here's what you do. So the current deck that's like the one to beat is like the Brave Adventure, whatever you want to call it, like 60 card deck that like Wombo combos off. It ends at like Herald of the Arclight, Baron, Artifact Scythe, DP, like sometimes more. It's pretty crazy. So what you do, if you shut them off a draw, and then they can't like play, and then you just like Shaddoll Fusion and start winning, or so they can standby phase. Sometimes they try and wait, but they can standby phase or like draw phase, whatever. DP, pop Scythe. They also have the extra deck. So what you can do is player priority in the draw phase, activate Super Poly, you discard like whatever, and then you get rid of their DP and their Predaplant. Sometimes they end up with Borreload Savage Dragon. You can just do DP Borreload Savage Dragon. I believe it's a dark. You just like get rid of both of these cards that they have, and then you make Starving Venom. So this card is absolutely insane, Starving Venom. So what do I even begin with this card? Okay, so this card it targets one of their monsters. It gains that much attack. So they have a Baron, usually they have Baron to floor, so you can gain 3,000 attack. And it also gains that monster's effect. So basically, what happens is you target Baron to floor. If they try and negate, like, your... so this card can't be negated, so they can't negate this. So, if they try and negate this, its other effect is when it's destroyed, it destroys all your opponent's special one's monsters. So, if they try and, like, I'll just negate Starving Venom so he doesn't get my Omni negate effect to just, like, negate whatever I try to do later this turn, then he just dies and you just blow up their whole field. So if they negate him and destroy him, he dies and blows up their entire field and you can just kill them. And then if they don't negate him, then you get Baron's effect, which destroys a card, and then it also lets you negate a card, and you just like can do whatever you want and you win. So either way, you just win. This card is insanely strong. It outs cards like Red Ash, Dark or Green that are hard to deal with. Easy DP. Like you can send a DP to the graveyard, and then you can just like Shaddoll aerial it. So this super power, this card is what makes this deck viable. I feel it's like you just need these. Yeah, they're Denver Sword Soul and like Florindese, but to keep Shaddoll's vibe in the meta, they need a reason to be played, and I think that Starving Venom plus Super Poly is the way to go. I have another generic target. I just didn't want my Super Polys to be like 2 dead in a lot of matchups. And I run 3, so I want an extra target. I just have Muddy Mud Dragon. It doesn't really do that much, but it's made with 2 monsters with the same attribute but different types. So it's just like kind of generic. Like you can just use it with like they have 2 wins, whatever. You just make this. But yeah, Starving Venom is how you break their board and you can kill them. I guess there's like one quick combo I want to show you. Like if you ever get the open field or this does resolve, the way you kill them is you just do all you need is Alistair and Ecclesia. So you do Alistair, summon Alistair, and then you just like Invocation whatever into Makaba. And then you special Ecclesia. And then you summon Floridelis. And then this Alpha Invocation goes back to your hand. This is 8,500. You can attack. That buffs these two. 3,000, that's 5,000 total. And this is 2,500. Drop Alistair, it's 8,500. So you really only need Alistair and Ecclesia to kill them. So if you have a card like Super Poly to break the board, then it's just insane to very easily be able to finish off your opponent. Yeah, Starving Venom is insane. And Mud Dragon's just more generic. Alright, so I guess I'll just do Shaddoll Fusion next. So Shaddoll Fusion is nice because it's like if it resolves, you do a lot for... Let's say it's one card that does a lot. Like, if you break their board and you just summon Alistair and make Makaba, like, they can keep going. But if you Shaddoll Fusion, what you can do is you can make, like... Well, obviously you make Contra Girl Window, but you can make App Cologne. And App Cologne, you can send obviously the only 2 targets to make him, the only 2 Shaddolls we play in the main deck, are Beast and Aerial. And so he gets to negate a card face up on the field. So you can negate one of their monster effects that has a negate effect. And you can chain block so they can't stop him from negating a card. You could be like, okay, Chain Link 1, this, Chain Link 2, Aerial Banisher, Graveyard, Chain Link 3, Beast. And then since this is the last thing on the chain, the only thing they can do is negate the Beast. And then you just guarantee negate one of their like I guess monster negation monsters, whatever you want to call them. And then you're just free to do whatever you want. You can also just like link with him and then search Shaddoll Schism. Like he's just pretty insane card overall. It just does a lot for one card. Like you're just once you resolve this, like you're just so far ahead. So and you shut off all the resources and you can draw extra cards. It's just insane. And of course you can do Construct to like kill things and stuff too. Shaddoll Fusion. So you don't really like do much with Shaddoll Fusion going first. You only have 2 Shaddolls, so like you literally have to draw like Shaddoll Fusion plus Beast to even do anything. You can fuse with like Secure Garden on the field or whatever. Or like whatever other cards. But yeah, mostly this is just like a card to like punish your opponent after you break their board. You just do this and then like you just banish all the graveyard, banish their DP, like win the game. And you just like can link off Appclo and Search Schism, but we'll get to that. Alright, so 3 Shaddoll Fusion. Next is just consistency. We have the Terraforming and 3 Meltdown. Again, this deck runs around like 9 hand traps. It runs the Shaddoll Fusion Super Poly. Like so you often will have hands where it's not like a combo deck. It's just like an individual cards that do a lot on their own. So you just like hand trap them, and then you play like Terraforming into Meltdown, and then you just like get everything going. Now Alistair gets the whole deck going because like he puts extract monsters in the field for you, so you can do like Ecclesia combos and stuff. Like it's a light to fuse with for Shaddoll fusion, and just when you link with them, and just all kinds of stuff. So yeah, very straightforward. Consistency, 3 pot of prosperity. I just got a 3rd. You don't need 3. Like there's actually some perks to only running 2, so you don't like. Because I only banished 3. Because you actually need that extract in this, so I only banished 3. It looks top 2 cards in my deck. And it sucks when you see like a second one. So you only need 2. I mean, I recommend at least 2, but I like 3 because it just makes your deck so much more consistent. And again, the deck is so many powerful, just one of cards. Like if you hit like Fusion Destiny off this, Magical Meltdown, Ecclesia, like Nadir Servant, Shaddoll, it's just like so many cards. Or if you're like already winning, like, or you have a good hand, you can just like search like draw. It's like, okay, I do this huge combo, or I get a good feel like win to DP Makaba, and then on your turn, okay, draw Lockbird. It's like, what are you gonna do? You just win. And a few more spells. Obviously, 2 Invocation. That's how you fuse. Very insane card. I guess we'll go into the extra deck to explain more what it does, but just continuously gives you advantage every single turn, and gives you Alistair, which is a good combat trick as well. So, just and you activate 2 a turn a lot of the time to like push your game and stuff. All right, 2 Fusion Destiny. Very straightforward card. You just make a DP, and then you get to draw 2 later from Celestial. So, a lot of the times, Alistair in like Magical Meltdown can force them to use their effects, and then you just do this after. Because Makaba negates a monster effect, right? So they have a monster negate, whatever. You just like make Makaba, or like make summon Alistair. They're forced to stop it, because otherwise you'll just negate their negate with Makaba. Then you just play Fusion Destiny, and then like you're good. And you back that up with Schism. Like you just like will search Shaddoll Schism, whether it's through Nadir Servant, Maximus, whatever, and then you're able to like have DP plus window, and then you win. And you have a bunch of hand traps too. So, all right, pretty straightforward card. Next is Nadir Servant. This card is really good. Obviously, in this deck, you oftentimes because you make Predaplant. I just want to like mention this. That happens a lot. You make Predaplant. You make DP. You play Nadir Servant, and you can't actually summon the card you get because when you use this card, you can't special monsters the rest of the turn. So what you'll do is you'll send Aquilo to the graveyard, and then you'll just use the effect. He has a Shaddoll card from your deck to your hand, and he has to discard a card. So you'll get Shaddoll Schism. You'll get like whatever Ecclesia off the Nadir Servant. So Ecclesia off Nadir Servant, and then Shaddoll Schism off of the Aquilone, and then you just discard the Ecclesia because you can't even summon it this turn. And it basically just has like search Schism in your hand. The Schism's like the best card I've ever read in my life. So and in the deck. So yeah. So Nadir Servant also gives you the toolbox, I should mention, to send Entis to the graveyard, which destroys a card. Since send Titaniclad. I mean, we'll get into that because we're about to go to the extra deck soon. So yeah, that's the main deck. Besides the trap, that's the monster and spells. All right, next are the traps. So I guess I'll just do this one first because Schism's like insane. All right, Punishment. It destroys a monster we send a monster factor to the graveyard. It destroys a monster with that much attack or less. You can do this plus sending Entis to the graveyard. Energy and Entis. This is when it's sent to the graveyard, destroys a card. So this says like just destroy 2 monsters, which is this card destroys any card. So you destroy a monster, destroy a card, destroy 2 monsters, whatever. Or you can send Apcalone to get like the consistency and get your effects off, like search your Schism, whatever. Search Shaddoll Fusion for next, or I guess you can use it next turn, but yeah, you can just search whatever Shaddoll card, draw a card off Beast, or you can search Schism. You can search Sent Titaniclad, search Ecclesia for like combo next turn and stuff. Anyways, yeah. So let's get into Schism. So this is like the best card I've read in my whole life. I actually can't even believe this card exists. This card is so good. This is actually probably the whole reason to even play this deck. It's just this card. Like, if this card didn't exist, you just play a different deck. Because this card is absolutely broken. All right. So how do I begin with this card? During the main phase, you can banish from the field or graveyard materials for Shaddoll Fusion monster and fuse for the Shaddoll Fusion monster. Then, whatever attribute it is, you can send a monster in your opponent's field to the graveyard. So if I summon Apcalone to Dark, you send a Dark on their field to the graveyard. You can do... Wind is also a Dark, obviously. But Construct's the Light. So it's a Dark or Light. And that's just a bonus effect, really. So basically what you do is you just search this with Apcalone. The Dogmatika cards let you send Apcalone for next to the graveyard, or extract the graveyard, searching the Schism, and you just play Winda. It basically just lets you play Winda. So it's like you have Makaba DP Winda through Schism, like so easily, and it's just so hard for them to beat. You have like a negate for anything, You can blow up their field. You draw 2 next turn off Celestial, and they can't only special one time. A lot of times, like you'll play this, and if they don't have like Forbidden Droplet or like Imperm, then they just lose the game, and you just like win for free in the game. It goes to game 2. So this card it doesn't target. The effect to send one of their monsters from the graveyard doesn't target, so you're able to just like do it, and there's not much you can do about it. You can protect it like Cosmic Cyclone and protect it with Macabre. Yeah, this card's just insane. And then, so you play Winda, and then you can also, like, after that goes on, you can play Construct to get, like, clear their board. Easier way to go for game by attacking one of their units, or, like, one of their big monsters and clearing it. You can draw a card off Beast. It also, like, lets you, like, you can summon this and just, like, send Aerial, banish their DP to the graveyard, whatever, BS, because it's just insane. And you just search it out. So, I can show you like a regular hand at the end of the video, but let's just go in the extra deck. And then the side deck, I want to explain a few things about this deck. So I guess I'll start with the Shaddolls while we're here. 2 App Cologne, Contract, Winda. So one Contract, you don't have space for like too many. So Winda, you just play it, the Winda, like right away off the Schism. Construct lets you send a light, lets you clear their cards, and then you can send Beast to graveyard to either draw an extra card or banish the graveyard. I run 2 App Cologne because you always want to send 1 App Cologne from the extra deck to the graveyard to search Schism. And then the second App Cologne is really nice because it allows you to just negate one of their cards. Again, with the Shaddoll fusion play, you can like start with this, chain block it, so you make sure you stop one of their monster negates no matter what. And one cool thing you do versus Florindis, because like these 2 cards are like kind of dead versus the Florindis deck, they don't do anything, is so they summon Rabina or whatever, and then you can Schism for App Cologne. And then on the next chain links, they summon their like Eagland or whatever, and then you can their Eagland chain link 1, and this is chain link 2, and it just negates their Eagland, and they have to end their turn. Or negate the map's also good for Florides, but this is like it's like an effect veiler essentially off Schism against that deck, which is nice. But yeah, this card is versatile, and also instead of having to pick between like 2 Winda, 2 Construct, and stuff like that, I just like 2 App Cologne because when App Cologne dies, it sends when App Cologne dies, you can put a Winda or a Contract from your graveyard back into your extra deck, so you can reuse them. So this is just the best for 2 of, I think. Alright. Macabre. Our Invoked lineup is double Macabre and Aguadius. I 100% need 2 Macabre. I tried 1 for a while. It comes up every time. Like, you pretty much make 2 Macabre every game. And the games, the locals where I tried to not use it, like, just try 1 Macabre, it came up literally like every single game. Like, you need Macabre dying gives you another Macabre, and it lets you grind so hard with your opponent by having 2 Macabres. And then Aguadius, this card is insane. When special summon destroys a card, or when your opponent special summons a monster, it destroys one of their monsters. And then you can banish a fusion from your graveyard. It gains that much attack points. It's an easy way to go for game. Versus Florindis, the way you can kill their like M-Pen is you put it in defense, and then you just destroy their M-Pen. It lets you go for game, and it's just really strong overall. DP, pretty obvious, like blow up card on their turn, and very strong. And to send to the graveyard off, you can do off Maximus if you're trying to like break their board, or a punishment, or off Meteor Servant. It builds up a free card. It adds like skill drain and stuff, which is nice. Predaplant, you can use this for Shaddoll. You can even use this for so it makes one of your opponent's cards a dark as its extra effect. So you can make one of their units you want out a dark, and then super poly them both for Starving Venom. But mostly it's just used for DP. Oh, and you use it. So when you play Construct, like let's say you play certain hands, you'll play Construct turn 1. Like you'll have like Construct plus Alistair. And then you can use Construct to send Schism to the graveyard. And then you link both away for Predaplant, Bird Anaconda, and then this goes to your hand from Construct's effect. And then you make, like, obviously the DP. And you have, like, DP Winda. That's really good. Alright. So we have, what's left? The super poly targets, Starving Venom, Mud Dragon. This is just to have a generic target, and this is just insanely broken, like, in the current meta. Okay, so last ones I guess are the ones I like to explain. These are all based around Maximus, and like you could open up extra space by not playing Dogmatika Maximus, but I think he's just so broken versus like Sword Soul and PK and stuff, and just gives you like a +2 a lot of matchups where it's worth it. All right, so you run Almirage and Secure Gardener. So the reason you don't run Magistus in this variant and you run this instead is turn 1, and a lot of hands. What you can do is you can go Alistair. And then you search like Invocation, whatever, and then you play Ecclesia. This will be like, I guess you'll just like Invocation this into some Macabre. And then this will search Or, sorry, I skipped a step. Alistair, Link into Almirage, Link into Secure Gardna. It's a light for the Alistair. Invocation makes this. This is your grave. It's these two. I guess it's banished too. It's just Almirage now. Special summon this. And then you get Maximus. And then Maximus effect. Oh, so to summon Maximus, you have to banish a Link, Ritual, or XP from your graveyard. So you banish the Almirage. So this is only in here, really, to allow you to summon Maximus turn 1. Or just summon him like whenever you want more easily. Because Maximus turn 1 against Sword Soul can search Schism and Floor, and that's just insane in one card. So if you only run Magistus, this would be banished for Invocation, and then you would have nothing in graveyard to banish. You couldn't play Maximus, and you're just fucked. But with Almirage, it's just putting a Link in grave. You banish Link on Maximus, then you use its effect, and you search Schism. And, yeah. So, very good. And then Titaniclad. In the end phase, you can search a Dogmatika card. You just search Floridelis, because on their turn, he's an effect failure that summoned himself. If you raw had Maximus, then Titaniclad gives you the option to summon the card to the field, so you can be like, okay, Maximus effects and Titaniclad. End phase, you can special summon or add your hands. You special summon Ecclesia, and then you add Floor, giving you 2 more cards. But if you just do Ecclesia into this, then you already used Ecclesia, so you just want to put this in your hand. Either way, it'll end with these 3 cards. Very good. Alright, so we go to the side deck. So this is actually one of the most important parts of the whole video, is that this deck's good going first and second. So a lot of the ways I win with this deck is by... Okay, so let's say we win game 1, right? Game 2, we decide, like normally, let's say we go to game 3, or we either win the match, or we just go to game 3. So whenever it's your turn to choose you go first or second, I just side my whole deck as a go second deck with all my hand traps, all stuff like that. And I say you can go first, because they side as if they're gonna go second, and they add extra hand traps to their hand. They add Dark Ruler No More to their hand, or into the deck, and stuff like that. And it just kind of makes it so they have 2 dead cards, or 2 or 3 dead cards, because they added extra going second cards, and just 2 cards to work with. And you can just either superpower their board, Shawl Fusion their board, or hand trap withdrawal, Ash, whatever. Because you side already go second cards. And yeah, you would I wouldn't honestly half my games just by making my opponent side for going first. Or sorry. So I make my opponent side for going second, and then I make them go first, and they have a dead hand. So yeah. So 3 Lancia. This is just good versus PK. It's one of the best cards versus PK. You want to do it immediately on their turn, just so they can't start the turn with Banishing Rite of Artemis. So yeah, very generically good. I did 3 Imperm. These can be Nibiru's. These could be I mean, if you want for Swords, Living Token Clay. This is the flex spot, but it's just the same with it's the go second strat. Or sorry, yeah, you go second, you make them go first strat. You decide extra hand traps, and then their turn you just hand trap them. They only have 2 or 3 cards to work with, and then you super probably whatever you win. So just generic. This basically a lot of the cards in this deck Ghost Trigger's not good versus every matchup, Super Power's not good versus every matchup, and you can decide those out for the generic flex spot. I have 3 Cosmic Cyclones, 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, 1 Red Reboot. These are for Eldritch, and just in general, these are for the more super trap heavy decks like Eldritch. Cosmic Cyclone's actually good against a lot of things in the meta, against Floor and D's. They're set trap. They can only use in the main phase, so standby phase you can try and hit it. A lot of times it's the only thing that is set. I don't side in Floor and D's sometimes, but that's just a cool thing you can do. It's good versus Shaddoll Schism in the Mirror. It can banish Artifact Scythe, so it's just generically good in a lot of matchups. And again, let's say their deck is super power's not good versus a deck like Floor and D's, you can just side this in, and hit their map away when they try and go second. But yeah, this is Red Reboot and Harpy's Feather Duster, and these are obviously good versus the Eldritch for skill drains and stuff, and goes into rivalry. 1 Call by the Grave. So the reason I side Call by the Grave instead of maining it is I don't actually care at all about getting ashed or getting impermed or whatever. It doesn't really matter. It's oh, I play Alistair, they ash. Okay, I'll just Fusion Destiny, or okay, I'll just make DP, or all right, I'll just Endear Servant. It just doesn't really matter. You can just keep going. You don't care about their hand traps. The only reason I even side this is for Dimension Shifter. So Floor and D's plays through Dimension Shifter, other decks play Dimension Shifter. This is literally here. Well, it's also just a nice generic going first card. If I'm gonna go first, then I've decided it's obviously it's gonna hit something if they side a bunch of hand traps for going second. But it's mostly for D Shifter. D Shifter destroys this deck, so I just want to have a card that gives me a chance to beat D-Shifter. So if I set this in versus Florentines, so I go first D-Shifter, I hope I draw my one called by. Because D-Shifter is like, if it resolves or not, it's like game-changing. And you just have to hope they don't have it a lot of time, because this is like a one-of, but it does help. It's for D-Shifter is why I said it. That's why I don't main it, because people, I mean, not every mains D-Shifter, so. The next card is just only, there's 3 that can only be 1. This is just a really good card with Florentines. It has a huge surge of popularity lately, and it's popular in my locals at least. My locals is everything. The 6-card pile, it's mostly adventure combo piles, that's the main thing, but there is like Evolution Florentines and stuff too, so. Yeah, and this says they can only have 1 Wing Beast, so it's really good. There's a ton of other side cards you can have in this deck. There's like Nibiru's, Veilers, Token Collector. You can pretty experiment with whatever you want. But yeah, that's the deck. I guess like real quick, I could show you like a hand. I guess we'll just like pick a hand. What would be like a good opening hands? Like these 2 are definitely good. Yeah, I guess this is fine. I guess the last card would have to be like, if I had the nuts, it'd be like Maximus or Nadir Servant. I guess we'll just do Nadir Servant for this example. There's a lot of different ways you can make this all work, but the best thing is like the super poly thing for starting Venom is breaking board is like the best part. But this is a generic hand. You can like, okay, I'll do Alistair, search Invocation, and then just link for Almirage. Then Almirage, you can special summon this, link both of these for the Predaplant. The Predaplant here. Then you want to use your Invocation, banishing the Ecclesia Engrave and the Alistair, and that'll allow you to make Makaba. And then you obviously do Invocation's effect, get Alistair back to your hand, so that's like over in your hand, I guess. And then you want to use the Verde, send materials to the graveyard for DPE. You get DPE. And then, so far you have this, and then you can like Nadir Servant, and then it's the thing I said where like you can, so since you use this, you can't special summon Monster Plays Hero the rest of the game, or sorry, not the game, the turn. Jeez. So you'll add this to your hand. You'll dump Apclo into the graveyard. And you'll search Shaddoll Schism and just dump this. And then you have the Schism. And then you'll have the Winda. So you end with Winda, Makaba, DPE. You still have Schism for next turn. You have Alistair in hand. You probably have like hand traps, more trap. So this board is extremely recreatable. You might be thinking like, oh, you have to have Nadir Servant for that. But it's like you actually just don't have to do that. Because you have 3 Pot of Prosperities. You have tons of different ways to reach this end board. Like, you can do Maximus ways, you can draw Fusion Destiny, so you can be like, oh, Maximus, summon Maximus, then Fusion Destiny for this, and then use Maximus, and then you send Apclone and search Schism. So this is like a recreatable board. Like, I end this board most of the time. Like, it's just how this is what this deck does. And then you back up like draw, like their turn, okay, you can only special summon 1 time, you can negate anything, you can blow up one of their cards. And then you have tons of refills: Celestial, Schism, Alistair. So you're gonna be able to outgrind them, or just kill them next turn. And you're like also backed by Hand Trap. You can back by Punishment, all kinds of stuff. So this is just recreatable in tons of different ways via the cards I just showed you / Fusion Destiny / the Pot of Prosperity, like making it easier / Maximus does it like in different ways too. So yeah, and then you backed up by Hand Traps. Very good deck. Shaddoll Fusion and Super Poly are very good. Going second for breaking boards. And if you just land a Shaddoll Fusion, you're so far ahead. Like, you can like link off Apclone for Schism, and then you can like banish their whole grave and be. So a lot of times when I do this, like the next turn, I want to like, okay, Shaddoll Schism, like make construct, send Aerial to the graveyard, and then just banish their graveyard, and then they're out of everything. And you just win. But yeah, very good deck. This is the current way I've been taking. This is the direction I've been taking Shaddolls. I think it's. I don't know, it's like the most viable version because like people could be out there like finding cool stuff, but the other versions with more Shaddolls are just more bricky. They lose way harder to monster negations because if they negate the right card, you just have dead Shaddoll like monsters in your hand that don't do anything. Yeah, it's a deck, and I won this cool mat, and I have a field center for it. I have a Trishula OTS mat. pulled Ultimate Zeus. So if you guys want to try this at your locals, regionals, whatever, I have regionals coming up. Hopefully I'll win that one. Or top. I haven't played in a few years. I'm just getting back with Shaddolls, but I won a few regionals in my past. It topped like a bunch. So yeah, let's see how the Shaddoll deck does then. But this is my current update, and I like it a lot. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.